Hello and welcome to Halftime with Barry and Justin. I'm Barry Elliott.
And I'm Justin Robinson.
I'm going to kick off this thing now with college playoff predictions. So Justin, where you want to start with this?
Was on my top of the list discussion for this college season. I really had high hopes for Florida State. With Josh Sweat leading that defense. Very disappointed once I saw them off the ranks this year. Josh Sweat had my attention as one of those top DNs for Florida State, and I definitely had Florida State at the top of my list for the playoff prediction.
That's homegrown seed there, brother. And you know, the amazing thing with Josh is he's playing with a school that's, highly ranked, and it's hard not hearing about these kids, man.
It was very disappointing. I think the quarterback caught an injury somewhere mid-season.
Yeah, I saw that game when he got hurt too.
Yeah, it kind of took a fall because the first game of the season was against top-ranked Alabama, which is at the top of the list of the college playoff prediction this year. They've been holding their ground pretty solid. And Alabama,
they're the standard.
Are team.
You can't be mad about it.
You can't. And
Saban is the standard.
But that trainer he has over there is the starting block for Alabama's success.
The first year you showed me a videotape of that guy.
Yeah.
I looked at the screen, right? And I'm saying, I looked back at you and I said,
yeah, how
can you not want to play football in an environment like that?
Yeah.
How can you not?
Listen to this voice here. Listen to this.
I need you lower! Bam! Hit it! That's crazy.
That will get me going.
I watched him go through the routine of showing the people the new workout facilities. And he's just a guy, man, that believes in his kids. He understands that pushing them to the highest level they want to go, and even above, he's going to be right in there with them, man. They're the standard. Yeah, and there's no need to be angry. And I understand Clemson won last year. I understand.
Right. And speaking of Clemson, you have right there in the prediction, in the mix with Alabama, you have Miami, you have the Oklahoma Sooners, and you have Clemson. Now, those are three interesting matchups because you never know who might play Alabama or where they might fall. Oklahoma has been trying to get back in the talk of discussion for years. Those guys over there, they'll never give up in Miami, man. All my U fans out there, just make some noise.
Marquell is a U fan, man. He drives me crazy calling me that the U is back.
The U is back. Okay. But I don't know yet, when you got Clemson, them Tigers.
They got something to say about it.
Now, them Tigers ain't just back off. They gonna come.
Clemson's got something to say about it.
Alabama know about them Tigers.
Yeah, they do. But the thing about it is, when you go back to that game, that freshman quarterback that Alabama had, he took that game. He took Clemson's heart when he scored in that game.
Wow.
The thing was, Alabama's defense, they were wore out, man. They were tired. That's not making an excuse. Listen, man, I got a neighbor who's a Clemson fan.
Right.
You got to understand what I'm confronted with every day, or in the backyard, he's cooking out with his flag in his little man cave and just hanging out the door while he's burning all his food up on the grill.
Right.
Man, but you love it because you see people, that's what I said about sports, because it's so much enjoyment out of that moment. And watching these colleges and these kids just play their hearts out, man. But Sweat, just going back to him for a minute, and he's there up in that school and not hearing nothing on his kids.
His junior year.
He's been there 3 years already. Wow.
The NFL scout should get a treat out of Josh Sweat. He suffered a terrible injury his senior year in high school. Has made a big impact over there at Florida State Seminoles.
I didn't think he was going to be starting when he left here because of the injury.
Man, I had all the confidence in Sweat, man. He's a hard worker, very good kid, good in the classroom, on and off the field, mentality guy that you want for your program. He's not a quitter, he's a fighter, and I definitely look for Sweat to make an impact in that NFL draft. Yeah. But speaking of sweat, let's go to this undefeated Wisconsin team. It seems like they're trying to make their way in the mix of the 4 top predictions.
But Justin, they always difficulty of schedule
Yeah.
is going to come into the mix. They're even talking about. I heard them talking about Alabama or one of the other top teams being able to lose 2 games and still be in the top 4, as opposed to Wisconsin's schedule.
Right.
If Wisconsin loses a game, they're done because of the schedule.
Because they haven't been a powerhouse for decades. So to see them go against Clemson or Oklahoma or Miami or Alabama, it would be tough based off their schedule, like you said. But they're undefeated. If someone like Oklahoma may drop out, I could see Wisconsin really moving into that number 3 or number 4 spot. I really could. But it's a tough fight. It's not knowing only you got 4 other teams in the hunt too behind Wisconsin, waiting for a spot to open up, like Auburn, Georgia, Ohio State, Notre Dame, the Irish.
They got beat this past weekend.
Really? So I mean,
I don't know how that's going to settle.
but to keep your eye on that.
Question:
Yeah.
do they need 8 teams in the playoff, or still stick with 4?
I say stick with the 4. Reason being, it gives this is the new age college football. See, every program builds their program around making the playoffs. See, back in the day, you could just make a bowl and we'll be fine. But now, every top-ranking university wants their team to be in the playoffs. And that's a very key factor, because now you have something to work towards. Not just fighting for a bowl game, but you're fighting for a playoff spot. So to keep it at that top 4, it makes it hard for you to be a top 4 contender. So back in the day, it was top 10. Now it's the top 4. And what do your program do to find themselves competing for that top 4? And that's always that's the new era we're in. So yeah, I think 4 playoff spots is perfect, and the kids are competing for it. Those 2 rounds, those 4 teams go head to head, and whoever top 2 coming out of those 4 fight for the championship. It's definitely so. I look for Wisconsin to make a run, since they have an undefeated season, and we'll see what happens.
I tell you, the disappointment to me was Michigan State. Michigan State has a tendency of really playing big games really tough, even to the point they win, and then they'll turn around and play a team that they really should maybe not just blow away, but they should win, and they look sluggish. But you hear commentators, you hear the sports analysts and whoever all over the country talking. You still got to remember there's 18, 19-year-old kids, man.
Yeah.
And why, even though, I'm a coach, I still have to keep my focus on who I'm actually dealing with.
Well,
I'm dealing with a kid.
You got to understand, Barry, these kids definitely are going for master degrees, bachelor degrees.
Oh, they're not stupid. They're far from stupid.
Right, they're very smart kids. They're
far
fighting
from
for
stupid.
an NFL career, and they're putting in the time and the effort to work to be at this collegiate level. And the programs are doing all they have to do to set the plate. And,
wow.
And the plate is set, and the kids got to be ready to eat off it. Got to be ready to eat, because if you ain't ready to eat, you know how your parents tell you, hey, eat those green peas or eat those greens, and you say, nah, I'm gonna skip them vegetables. Well, you better not skip these vegetables coming to this collegiate level, because there's some kids out there that's willing to take your spot.
I don't have nothing to say after that one, brother, because you're right.
Well, over there talking about that, taking spots, over there in Tennessee, they're having a tough time over there in the Vols. Tennessee
Yeah, they just lost their coach. The head coach just got dropped.
Butch Jones is
Yeah,
out
Butch is
of
out,
Tennessee.
man.
And
Do you think the expectation of those programs are unrealistic for those schools when coaches are just coming in, first year, second year coaches at the school, and what those type of programs require, and when it comes to winning,
well,
is it unrealistic to you?
that goes back to what we were just saying about the playoff prediction. Every collegiate team, every university wants to compete for a playoff spot, and Butch Jones has given all he had for Tennessee, but he didn't gain a playoff spot. And so, as an athletic director, you have to decide how to keep your job and to make your program compete for a playoff spot. And that's where you have to go back to the drawing board. Who's the best option to put us in that position? And looking right now, the topic of discussion is Chip Kelly. Man, who would ever thought Chip Kelly would go back to college?
Never thought he was an NFL coach anyway.
For Florida and Tennessee, but Chip did have his 2 jobs open with the Eagles and the 49ers. Now that didn't go too well.
He could have owned that. He could have owned that school.
I don't know why he left the Oregon Ducks. I think his historic Nick Saban type of era, he could have stayed with the Oregon Ducks.
It make it seem more like money.
I wouldn't say it was a money thing for Chip. I think maybe
Does he really believe?
Maybe he got bored.
Okay.
Because he was competing for years and years,
Yeah,
and he built that program, so he
Yeah, he
needed
did.
a new challenge. I think to see how good he was at the next level for himself. The Eagles gave him a shot, but it was very devastating for him to get rid of Michael Vick, Deshaun Jackson, LaShawn McCoy.
He made some really interesting moves going into that program.
I thought he was going to be the quarterback after getting rid of all them stars. It was very
Man.
so for him to get fired by the 49ers and the Eagles, man, and to make a comeback in the college rim, where do you see him fitting in SEC?
He's not gonna have a problem. The thing about the SEC is it's power football. The SEC, man, they're gonna run the football. Now he can go out there with that fast-paced offense, and what he does is fine. But I'm gonna tell you this, bro. Those kids coming off that field after it has taken them 2 minutes and some change, a minute and some change to score, and that defense is on that field like that, and you get those big backs in that SEC hitting that defense in that fourth quarter, they tired. That score is gonna get ugly.
It's gonna be.
Bro, I'm telling you, Justin.
I wonder if Tennessee has the training facility that Chip needs, because in Oregon they have one of the best prestige training facilities, man, and Chip needs that facility to produce the players he needs to put on that field.
Yeah, it's back to the speed.
Right. Now I know Florida Gators have invested into their facility because Percy Harvin was one of those speedy guys that came from Florida
They're
Gators.
still in the SEC. The SEC is still about power football.
Yeah.
And when it comes to that fourth quarter and you can't run the football down that field, all you can do is throw.
Now, how do you see Chip, if Chip decides, or if Florida and Tennessee decides to pick up Chip Kelly, how do you see Chip Kelly really matching up against top-ranked Alabama or Miami or Oklahoma or Clemson? What do you see
Back to what
for?
I said, his matchup, his theory, his philosophy of football, and how he approaches the game with his kids and who he brings to the table to play for him.
So you think he's ready for Nick Saban?
He's got a little taste of the NFL, and he kind of understands what power football is. He will be able to manage it. Now, will his pride allow him to adjust to SEC football, or he's going to do like he tried to do in the NFL and says, no, we're going to do this. And again, I say he's in the SEC.
Well, I think that'll be a nice.
I don't know. I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't know. What do you think?
I can see Chip going to Florida Gators. I think I can see Chip Kelly in the Florida Gators because of the Tim Tebow and Percy Harvin era, and the run that Percy Harvin and Tim Tebow had in Florida Gators, and knowing the system that Chip runs. I think that the Florida Gators is a great fit for him because of the speed that he might bring to Florida, and to compete against, Florida State and Miami and those guys out there, down south. I think Chip Kelly, that'll be a nice comeback for him.
Well, next year this time, you and I are sitting here and we're having this conversation. I'll probably be able to say, you know what, Justin, I'm glad I stayed neutral on it. That's where we are.
That's where we are.
You're listening to Halftime with Barry and Justin. We'll be back with more of Halftime with Barry and Justin after this.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Halftime with Barry and Justin. And also follow us on Twitter at Halftime with Barry and Justin. Also, you can catch us on Facebook Live at Halftime. All right, thank you for tuning in. This is Justin Robinson.
And this is Barry Elliott, and this is Halftime.